Hello and welcome to another episode of Nasarawa Focus, reaching you from the government house here in Lafia. I am Maria Olashendi. Today on the program, we bring you the story of how Nasarawa State and the federal government are collaborating to put a stop to incessant clashes between farmers and herders in Nigeria. Plus, our special focus will be on efforts of Governor Umar Tanko Almakura in catering for the need of the vulnerable in the society since assumption of office in 2011. Stay with us for this after the break. Welcome back. The dry season is here, at least in the northern parts of the country. This means farmers and herders will engage in struggle for greener space. But to ensure that we do not witness violent clashes between farmers and herders, the Nasarawa State and federal government are collaborating on this at a stakeholders meeting in Lafia, organized by the Presidential Committee on Farmers and Herdsmen Crisis. Key players gave suggestions on how the menace can be curbed once and for all. Incessant clashes between farmers and herdsmen have raged for some years in Nigeria, with attendant material and human losses. Now that the rains are receding, there is heightened fear in communities prone to such clashes as farmers and herdsmen struggle for grazing and farming space. This is because dry season in the northern part of Nigeria is characterized by absence of rainfall, which leads to scarcity of pastures for cattle. This situation compels desperate herdsmen to search for greener pastures for their herds in the north-central parts of the country, often leading to face-off with farmers. To prevent these recurring clashes in the country, the federal government entered into partnership with the Nasarawa State government. This collaboration between the state and federal government prompted a stakeholders meeting in Lafia to fashion out ways to prevent outbreak of crisis between farmers and herdsmen. The meeting, which was organized by the Presidential Committee on Farmers and Herdsmen Crisis, had in attendance members of the Nasarawa State Security Council, the Presidential Committee on Farmers and Herdsmen Crisis, traditional rulers and religious leaders.
With the approaching season of dry season 2018, we should go back to the communities and present to them what they have suggested as the way forward or as solutions to A, preventing the conflict, B, resolving them, or C, managing or mitigating the impact of the conflict, particularly the attendant loss of lives and property that are entirely avoidable. To do this, therefore, we are here not again to tell you what to do or how to do what, but to say to you, what you told us were this and this and this. And we therefore want you to prioritize today. Which of these practices or suggestions do you think is important going forward? A. B. How do you suggest you can do it amongst yourselves peacefully? And what C. What do you expect federal and state government and the existing security architecture to do in enabling the communities to be able to become more resilient in the face of the forthcoming crisis?
The gathering aimed at serving as guide for key players on early warning and action to be taken in anticipation of clashes between the month of November and February.
1. On the point of legal and political consideration, there is need to ensure all persons are treated equally before the law, irrespective of their religious, ethnic, or political affiliations. 2. There is need to review the ECOWAS protocol on transhumance and free movement of persons and goods. However, point 3, according to you, says the ECOWAS protocol on transhumance and free movement of persons and goods is not the problem, but absence of any movement control structure in Nigeria. So, how do we control the movement during this forthcoming dry season, when the livestock will necessarily have to go somewhere to find what to eat? Can we agree as a people that this is the route they should take, the movement pattern? Can we agree as communities that this is the pattern for this dry season to avoid damaging crops. B, on security. Number 2, you said community policing to protect lives and property should be encouraged. So we are saying, yes, this is good, but you have to work to see how you will encourage community policing. And you went forward to say, training and retraining of security agents, especially on alternative dispute resolution mechanism, is very, very important should we maintain peace in the communities. And we are here again to say we agree with you. Is this still very important to you? How do we do it? 3, you said contingency plans need to be put in place to reduce degree of damages through prompt response to attack. And I remember we deliberated on this, that if there is prompt response, we could prevent the counter-attacks that follow destruction of crops or killing or poisoning of livestock. So we are here also to say with you, is this recommendation still relevant to Nasarawa State? How do you want us to support you to activate it during this forthcoming dry season? And 3, you said disarmament of militia groups is critical if they exist within the state. How do we do this? Our security experts and heads of security agencies are here. They want to listen to you and work with you. And we said criminal elements in each group should be promptly reported by the communities, is to see how the communities can take charge of implementing what you have recommended in the past meetings. And he said on capacity building for farmers and pastoralists, it is imperative to introduce modern agricultural practices across the various agricultural activities, cropping and grazing. And we say yes to you again, but how do we go about doing that? We want to hear the community-based mechanisms that you want in place. And you say put in place the necessary infrastructure to enhance modern agricultural practices, such as mechanization and ranching. We said yes to that again, but we want to move to implementation with you in the front seat and government supporting.
For the Nasarawa State government, a community-based conflict resolution mechanism is the sure way to ending the crisis.
I need to remind you that one of the measures put in place in Nasarawa State is the establishment of community-based conflict resolution committees at the state, local governments of development area, district and village levels. The committees resolve conflicts that may arise from warring parties in the community. This strategy has been very successful in resolving conflicts among individuals and community in this state. It is my belief that this meeting will draw inspiration from the unique broad-based conflict resolution approach for possible adoption.
The meeting urged all communities in the state to take proper census of the indigenous herders residing in their areas, as well as the census of their cattle, for proper distinction between them and foreign herders. 7. The meeting recommended that all established cattle routes in the state should not be blocked before, during, and after harvest, in accordance with the guaranteed constitutional right to full movement of all citizens.
It is hoped that discussions like this will engender the needed understanding, tolerance, and the will to put a permanent stop to herders and farmers' clashes in Nigeria. Let's move ahead on the program as we bring you a special focus on how Nasarawa State Governor Tanko Amakura is implementing policies that guarantee welfare of the vulnerable in the society. In this Nasarawa Focus special, we bring you the story of how the state government is moving the Maimuna Keita Memorial Orphanage and Children's Home to the GRA section of Lafia, the state capital. Sit back and enjoy these reports. It was the inspirational Mother Teresa who once admonished humanity thus: be faithful in small things, because it is in them that your strength lies. For Nasarawa State Governor Umaru Tanko Almakura, caring for the less privileged in the society is a task he has decided to pursue with all vigor. Since assumption of office in 2011, Governor Almakura has implemented various programs aimed at making lives of the common man better through education, agriculture, and social services. The most critical among these programs is establishment of special schools to cater for the education needs of indigent children across the states. Also, Governor Almakura has taken it upon himself as a sacred duty to care for orphans at the state-run Maimuna Katai Memorial Orphanage and Children's Home, Lafia. Matron of the orphanage, Ezel John, attested to the fact that it has been a long love affair between the children and the governor, who has supported them in many ways.
This is a charity work, and because it is a charity work, God has been helping us all this while. Why did I say that? You know, these children, they are from different backgrounds. You never can tell their background and where they were abandoned and why were they abandoned. So, in that case, working in this place is not as easy as that you can think of. You find out that some of these children, some of them were abandoned in the bush, in the dustbin, in the thick forest, beside the rivers, and you find out that before these children are being brought into this place, some of them are half dead. So you can imagine bringing a child that you do not know their background, and that child, in the next, we are thinking as if in the next minute he might not make it, but at the end of the day he will make it. Why? Because of the, can I say, the mind or the grace that God has given us to work in this place. So working in this place it takes the grace of God for anyone to be in this place.
But since its establishment in 2003, the orphanage has been operating in a rented apartment. This development has not only impeded growth of the orphanage, but also limited the amount of facilities available for the children following increase in the size of the population. Hence, moving the orphanage to a befitting environment became imperative in order to cater for the rising number of children coming in from different places. The dream of having a permanent site for the Maimuna Katei Memorial Orphanage and Children's Home Lafia is becoming a reality, as Nasarawa State Government has concluded plans to move it to the GRA section of the state capital.
Honestly, I'm overwhelmed. Why? Because this place is not the right place for an orphanage home to be. When you look at the facilities in this place, is not enough. Yes. So if for that wisdom, knowledge and love that the governor has for the children, that now he has decided to move us to a better place, honestly, I am so happy, because I know that in that place there will be enough facilities that an orphanage home should have. In this place, they don't have enough space for them to play. They don't have in so many places, because in the orphanage home there is a reception like this, and there should be their playground, which is a room, and it is expected that these children should have their playing ground. It is expected that these children should also have a place that they can go and be watching all these film. Yes, but in this place, these facilities are not here. Why? Because the place is so small.
A visit to the project site indicated that works on the new home has reached advanced stage. The State Commissioner for Information and Orientation, Jamil Zachary, is of the opinion that the permanent site for the orphanage is long overdue.
The orphanage in GRA has been a rented apartment since 2004, and the state governor has made a commitment to build or construct a befitting orphanage home for the less privileged in Nasarawa State. And in keeping with his promise, he has found a new location, which is the GRA that we're referring to. And currently, a very, very befitting orphanage home is being built. We're looking at the end of the year for the completion of that orphanage. And it's going to be state of the art.
Zachary explained further that the decision to move the orphanage to the GRA is part of government's commitment to operating inclusive policies that will cater for the most vulnerable in the society.
The governor is an all-inclusive governor. He believes in inclusion, meaning every segment of the society must be included in the process of governance, and that they must benefit, in the provision of amenities and facilities. The least less privileged, as the name implies, are people that need special attention. So the orphanage is one of the efforts that the government is making to ensure that we have a fitting place where abandoned children, orphans whose parents are dead, or the vulnerables and others like juveniles will be kept. The modern orphanage home that we're building is going to be the state of the art, like I have said, and a lot of facilities are going to be provided. The space is larger than what we know, and we're looking at providing playgrounds, we're looking at providing toiletries, we're looking at providing offices, very, very befitting offices for the staff. We're looking at ensuring that the toiletries are also good enough for these children, and they are provided with all the care that they need. This is the whole idea, because every now and then we experience this issue of abandoned children. We have issues where during communal conflicts or other circumstances, children are orphaned and there's no anybody to give them care. Government need to take all of this burden. Government, particularly since the coming of His Excellency Governor Morata Makura, has ensured that attention is given to this kind of Nigerians. And the orphanage home has been on subvention, monthly subvention since then. So he's looking at expanding the scope, of the benefits that ought to go to these particular people. And talking about the less privileged, we also have people with disabilities. If you recall, the special school that the governor has built is one of the best in this country. About 3 of them in the 3 senatorial districts have been put together. The one in Lafia was commissioned by the president, Muhammadu Buhari, when he came some few months ago. And this special school that we're talking about for the people with disability, like I said, is one of the best. The facilities there are state of the art. The tutors have been trained, home and abroad. And we have carefully selected those who really deserve to be there, and they are given all the attention that they need. The 2 other special schools that are in the other two districts are also being work in progress, almost 85% completed.
There is no doubt in the fact that the new orphanage will impact positively on the lives of the children, and the matron is relishing the idea of the change in the environment.
Now the impact that His Excellency, our dear governor, have impacted in our life can never be emphasized. It's just too much. I am so over happy, and I am so proud of him, because he is a lover of children. It takes only a person that loves children like this that can think of having a comfortable place for them like this. So I am so happy. It's going to take a lot of, it's going to be, in fact, it's going to create an enable impact in the life of these children, because all these short-term complaints here and there will not be there again, because we are going to be very, very free and safe.
Moving the Lafia orphanage to the GRA comes with a lot of benefits, such as calm environment and improved facilities like well-furnished rooms, portable water, constant power, Medicare, mini-school, and many more.
His Excellency has sponsored a bill in the Nasarawa State House of Assembly for the less privileged, which has been passed. And he's also one of those that is sponsoring one of the bills for disability in the National Assembly, which is almost in the third reading. So we're looking at a governor who has vision for the future. We're looking at a governor who has care and love for the less privileged, and a governor who is not just talking, but making sure that the needful is done to ensure that these people are given the attention that they desire and they deserve, because they are also Nigerians and they need all the care that they can get. So the commitments in terms of provision of necessary facilities and assistance to the less privileged is a commitment of the governor, and he has no intention to slow down until the curtain is drawn next year.
According to plans by the Nasarawa state government, such facilities will be opened in other parts of the state for more indigent children to be catered for.
This is the orphanage home that we're building. Like I said, we have increased the size, and we're giving it a modern touch, and we're increasing the capacity of those who are going to handle these kids that are orphans or abandoned or juveniles or the less privileged in general. So we're extending the frontiers of the services that are supposed to be provided for the orphans. And this facility that is being built currently by the state government would care for a lot of the orphans that we find across our 13 local governments and development areas. Only today, the Ministry of Women Affairs, which is taking care of the orphanage home, held a meeting with directors of social welfare in all the local governments. The idea is to get them abreast of the development and inform them of the commitment of His Excellency. And they toured the facility to see things for themselves. And work is in progress and almost completed. The commitment we have from the governor is that by the end of the year, this year, hopefully that place will be commissioned. So a lot of efforts are being put to ensure that that happens. I'm sure by the time it is completed, it will take care of our needs in Nasarawa State for orphans for a very long time.
After 15 years of operating in rented apartments, the dream of moving to a permanent home is just a matter of time for the Maimuna Katei Memorial Orphanage and Children's Home, Lafia. A new home, of course, will mean a new hope and vision for the children of the Maimuna Katei Memorial Orphanage and Children's Home, Lafia. All those made possible by the love and care of Governor Umaru Tanko Almakura for the children and other less privileged in the state. That has been our package for this week. Do join us next week for a fresh episode. Thanks for watching. I am Maria Olasheinde.